This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, here on March 28th, 2024. And I got a beautiful Toronto background behind me because, I want to make Toronto my future home, because I love Toronto, but it's awfully pricey to live there. But you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way. You know, Folks, I have an awesome film director on the show today who's directed uh, number of episodes of Psyche, as well as a lot of television, and he's directed some movies as well, including Mischief with a guest I've had here a couple of times, Catherine Mary Stewart, and a film that my brothers and I are quite fond of growing up, a film I consider very underrated comedy called Yellowbeard. I have Yellowbeard here, and I am currently got knock on wood, Greta Blackburn, who played Mr. Prostitute, coming on next Tuesday. So she's supposed to be on earlier, but something came up, but she is still committed to coming on. But today, folks, we have the director of the film, Mr. Mel Damski. How do you do, Mel?
I do very well. I'm very happy to be connected to you right now. And especially because I can speak Canadian, eh? Because I
Yeah.
did very psych in Canada for all those years. So I can speak both languages.
Well, I remember you were saying that if because you live very close to the border, you were telling me yesterday if Trump gets back in office, you're gonna move back into Canada. And I'm like, are you psyched to get closer to Tim Hortons? Because I don't know if they have that in the States or not.
No, that's one of the reasons. Yeah, so I can be closer to Tim. Yeah. But I love Vancouver. The problem is my friends just came down yesterday to have
Mm,
dinner with us.
yeah.
The border wait, it was 2.5 hours to get across the border.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
bad it is these days to cross the border. So it's I don't go there much anymore. If I do, I have to go at a very weird time, late at night or earlier in the morning because the lineup is just ridiculous at the border.
Yeah, I'm about to do my first convention in the States. I got my passport a couple of years ago. One of my guests invited me to a convention a couple of years ago, and or not a couple of years ago, back in 2017. It was my first time ever traveling, and I'm about to do my fourth convention with her. It'll be my first one in the States, so um, I'm a little nervous about traveling to the States, but nonetheless, I'm going to do this. It should be an experience because I remember I was nervous the first time I traveled to Toronto. So,
Yeah.
but
Where are you going in the States? Where are you going?
New Jersey, we're doing Chiller
Okay.
Theater, yeah, in New Jersey. It's got I'm splitting a hotel room with a guest I've had on the show a few times, and then he's an author, and he's going to be with one of the other guests, and I'm going to be with Lisa Langlois, a Canadian actress. It'll be the fourth time I've done a convention with her. Um, so she's going to be in that
Oh,
hotel as well because that's where the event is being held. But
what's the date for that?
yeah, the weekend of April 26th through the 29th, 28th, but I'll be there till Monday the 29th because
Right.
that's best how my flights work out. Yeah, but nonetheless, that's okay.
Yeah.
I am very much looking forward to it, and um, yeah, that there's going to be a lot of people there. They got Sybil Shepherd going to be there doing her very first convention, and I'm kind of curious to meet her if her price isn't too bad, on autographs, but we'll see.
Right.
She and William Shatner are the headliners. William Shatner's done these before, but
Yeah.
first for Sybil Shepherd, and Sybil Shepherd was very easy on the eye back in the day. She may still be. I don't know. I haven't seen her in a while, so
Yeah.
but
By the way, Bill Shatner is my buddy. And when I lived in LA, he, because I directed him in a TV series, and he invited me over for Monday Night Football. He has a theater behind his house in the San Fernando Valley. And so he
mhm.
and his wife sit in the front of the theater, and they had a huge, like a film screen, but you were watching the football games, and he had all these famous people there, people like Eric Idle and people like that there, and it was really cool to be a part of that group. And Shatner's just a really good guy. He doesn't look or act his age.
No. Now, how many times did his team flub up and he yelled, "Come on!"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he's wonderful. He's wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Will you give him my best, please?
If I see him, yes. I know he's just going to be there Saturday, that date, and um, I do. That's Saturday. Will likely be the busiest of the 3 days, so it depends on whether I get away from Lisa's table for it.
Okay.
But I'll see what I can do. Absolutely, But he's
What's the
very
date?
active for his age, huh?
Yeah, what's the date again of it that you're doing it?
April 26th to the
Oh,
28th.
because I might see him before that because I still have three sons living in LA, so I might head down there, and I always go see Bill if I'm in LA. So if I do, I'll let him know that he better. I'll lay some heavy Jewish guilt on him to make sure that he connects with you.
Oh, I'd love to have him on here. Wow. I never
Yeah.
thought that would even be possible.
Well, I'll try. I can try. Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
would
and
love
I'll
to.
keep in touch about that. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I would love to. And speaking of Yellowbeard, I don't have a Yellowbeard t-shirt, but I got Cheech and Chong. I mean, they are in the movie, so
That's great.
so I thought I'd wear that today. And yeah, go a little Yellowbeard. Um, but before we get into talking about your films, I'd love to hear, I'm sure the audience, when they hear this, would love to hear about your background and how you got into the business, because I think it's amazing. You got fresh out of film school and directing an episode of MASH. That was a pretty incredible story you told me yesterday when we chatted on the phone.
Well, I feel so blessed. My parents are Holocaust survivors from Germany.
Oh,
They,
wow.
yeah, they both grew up in Berlin and they met in New York. So they had no education. But my mother's younger brother, when they got to New York, Harry Rosenfeld, was only 9 years old. So he got to go to junior high, high school, and college. And he ended up being Woodward and Bernstein's editor at the Washington Post. And so I became a journalist. So I was a reporter I was sports editor of my high school paper, my college paper. I was a reporter for Newsday in Long Island and the Suffolk Sun. Before that, I was a sports writer. So that my background is journalism. But I was living in New York with my college roommates who were going to medical school at Columbia, and they were all starting to smoke marijuana. And I just wasn't comfortable being around all these people who were tripping and smoking weed. And so I said, I got to get out of New York. And so I applied to film school in Denver, and not film school, but to graduate school in Denver. And I thought actually I was going to go back and be a film critic. But on my first day of film class, they told me what a director does. And I said, that's what I want to do. That's a really cool job. And so I did a short film there, and it turned out really well. I sold it to the local ABC affiliate in Denver. It was about illegal aliens, and I literally stood in the river filming them crossing the river into the US. And that got me into the American Film Institute, which only took 10 directing fellows in those days a year. And my film from AFI turned out really well, The Lost Phoebe. And so it launched my career. And so I went right from AFI to directing an episode of MASH. Can you imagine me as a kid, right out of film school, walking on the set of MASH as the director? So it was intimidating, but also thrilling at the same time.
What was the atmosphere like on set? And how did the crew and the cast treat you?
They were very good. Alan is wonderful. He's like a regular guy from New Jersey, and I'm a regular guy from Long Island, New York. So we totally hit it off. Uh, there was no issues. I mean, they were just really, I mean, let's face it, it was so many years into the show, it probably could have directed itself. But
Mhm.
still, they were very respectful to me, and it was a really fun experience.
Yeah, because
And by the
sometimes,
way,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can turn on the TV now, MASH is on all the time.
yeah.
And there's my episode one day, and I just sat down and watched it. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. That would be a trip, and but nonetheless, yeah, you've directed a lot of television, and of course, uh, my brothers and I, of course, grew up with Yellowbeard. I have an uncle that used to own a video store from 1981 to 1988, you know. And there's numerous movies that when I watch them or come across them, I think of my uncle's store because that's where I would have first saw them, you know. And Yellowbeard was one of those films that actually I think the first time I saw Yellowbeard was at my cousin's place. They had rented it from my uncle's store, and that was where I first saw it. And so my parents saw it as a dirty comedy, but you know, I'd say Porky's was dirtier, and we saw that. So hey, come on, you know. So but nonetheless, I remembered all these years later, and I'll go be honest. I'm surprised at the negative reviews the film got because I am still quoting the film today, and uh, I actually think it did a great job at making a satire out of pirate cliches, and you had a tremendous cast. You know, like speaking of intimidation, you know, and you've heard pirate movies like Blackbeard and this and that. Well, of course, if it's got this level of comedians, and of course this is going to be called Yellowbeard, you know, why not? You know, so I got this
Well, one
film on
reason, oh, go ahead.
I got this film on Blu-ray. I love the film, and so how did you get the Yellowbeard?
Well, here's the problem. It wasn't a Monty Python movie. It was done through Orion.
Mhm.
And so only three of the Pythons could be in it. And they were furious. They always directed their own movies. So here, this young kid just out of film school comes on the set and he's the director. So they were not respectful to me at all or supportive at all. But the rest of the cast was wonderful, wonderful to me. James Mason and, Madeline Kahn, all these people were very respectful to me and appreciated me. And they realized there was a reason that as young as I was directing this movie. But I just had, it was tough thing with the Pythons because they were used to doing Python movies. This was not a Monty Python movie. So it wasn't an easy experience. And then Marty Feldman died during shooting. And his wife didn't want him to see it. He was from England, but he lived in Beverly Hills. And so their doctor was in Beverly Hills. She didn't want to see a doctor in Mexico. She wanted to wait. And Marty died. And I had to knock on everybody's door at night in the hotel and tell them Marty had died. Can you imagine? Uh,
Yeah.
just horrific. Luckily, I only needed to do one more scene with the stunt double where he dies at the end because otherwise I would have had to reshot every scene that he was written in. But so I was able to keep him in the movie and just do the death scene with his stunt double. But that was a tremendous challenge as well. And then it didn't open well at all, because it wasn't a Python movie. The Pythons were not supporting it themselves. But over time, it's grown and grown and grown and gotten a really good following.
I think the thing is, I think this one of the writers and creators behind this was Graham Chapman, who of course played Yellowbeard. And Chapman, I heard had a little issue with alcohol, but I heard he wasn't a violent drunk. Just it just made him hard to find to get on set. That is This is the reason why I've heard through documentaries why he was the lead in Monty Python and the Holy Grail and Life of Brian, because it was a way that they keep him centered on screen. Um, I love all the Monty Pythons. There's not a single one of them I could voice a complaint about in terms of their talent. There's not a single one that I dislike, you know. And Graham Chapman died way too early as well, 1989. And we just recently lost in 2020 Terry Jones, you know,
Yeah.
who was always great when he was in drag. Of course, he wasn't in Yellowbeard, but nonetheless, you know. And here's the thing about not opening well. This is what I don't understand. You've got three flavors of comedian in this movie. You got Monty Python, you got Cheech and Chong, and you've got a lot of Mel Brooks uh, um, actors in this movie. You know, if you watch, especially Young Frankenstein and whatnot, you could see a lot of the like Peter Boyle and Marty Feldman, Madeline Kahn, Kenneth Mars. They all came from a lot of Mel Brooks movies. So you had a tremendous amount of talent. And then on top of that, you had Peter Bull in this in his last role, and James Mason, like I don't understand why it didn't do well. I mean, it opened, I'd say about a month after Return of the Jedi, so it was um, not too direct competition there, because Jedi, of course, was the highest grossing film of the year, but Yellowbeard, you know, after a month, you'd think it would be a safe bet on it, but I don't know what hurt it, but
I think what hurt it is that the Pythons didn't support it and they didn't promote it. I think that really hurt it. And so the Python fans, it wasn't a Python movie per se. It was a broad comedy with a lot of different people in it. But over time, as people started to see it, they thought, you know what, this is actually a pretty good movie. So it did build up a following over time. But I was in New York opening day and there was nobody at the theater. It was heartbreaking
oh,
for me.
I bet it was, you know. And I still laugh at this movie. Had a great production, you know. I love the score, that big score, you know. And yeah, but it's interesting because I've heard the quotes. Eric Idle had described the film as one of the worst he's ever been in, but yet one of the best experiences he's ever had, and said that he wouldn't change it for the world. So, and of course, he had that great line where he says, "You know, we're going to shoot often, miss a lot."
Yeah.
And of course, you had John Cleese as the blind Pew, who stated that he did it as a favor to Graham Chapman. I gotta say though, because that sounds like somebody who's gonna be lazy through the film, but John Cleese as the blind Pew was actually a standout in the movie, you know, especially the physicality, like where he's listening and he jumps the jump rope, you know, as he goes by there, and I love it there when he's being threatened by all these people in the bar, and he takes his sword and just goes like this across the candlelight, and it goes out, and next thing you know, all the people in the bar are dead because you know Blind Pew, despite an ailment, he could handle himself, you know. And I thought it was funny the scene where Marty Feldman tries to put his hands around his neck. John Cleese just stands up, and Marty Feldman's hands are just going way up like this. And then, of course, Graham Chapman playing the lead. And I'm wondering, out of the three pythons in it, uh, I'm going to take a guess. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because where Graham Chapman was one of the writers, was he the worst
Yes.
for wear?
Oh, yes, absolutely. He was so disrespectful to me. I mean, but look how well it turned out. I mean,
Yeah.
as challenging as it was, and for a film kid who's just out of film school and just directed a MASH episode, it was an incredible experience for me because I'm working with James Mason and Peter Boyle and Marty Feldman and all these people. So
Yeah.
the three Pythons were not. Eric was okay, but the others weren't that great to me. But still, it was a wonderful experience for me. And looking back, I'm very happy that I got an opportunity to do that. I was right out of film school and
Yeah.
just had done a mashup. So they were, in a way, looking for a sacrificial lamb. They didn't go after a famous comedy director. They took a kid right out of film school.
Well, you got to
And
look
because
too, um, with the Holy Grail and Life of Brian and whatnot. Those, I believe, were directed by Terry Jones, who was not part of Yellowbeard. And I don't know whether, escapes me, whether Terry Gilliam co-directed, I think, Holy Grail. I might be wrong on that. But because Terry Gilliam went on to direct a lot of great
yeah,
bizarre films, and it probably was hard on them not to have those two, and of course Michael Palin in this, So like, because this has Monty Python written all over it. To be honest with you, I don't think it would have hurt it one bit had all the Pythons been in it. But I understand where you're coming from too. You want to be able to direct the movie and yeah, and I'm
no, no,
pretty
that
sure.
was my decision. That was Orion's decision.
Yeah,
They didn't want it to be a Yellowbeard movie. They wanted it to be a comedy starring, obviously three of the people from Monty Python. But so they purposely made sure that it was not a Python movie,
and
and
it's
that's why
feel
I was brought in.
yeah, I feel bad that you felt the wrath of that. Now, because I understand how Graham Chapman was in this, and of course, John Cleese said he did it as a favor to Chapman, but how did Eric Idle become the third Python, or was he already in the mix through those two?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
and he was fine. He was respectful, so
hmm
yeah, he was fine. But
yeah,
again, looking back, it was very challenging, but I'm glad I did it and I'm proud of it.
yeah. No, I feel bad that did it turned out that way as far as the challenging go, but boy, oh boy, look at the rest of the cast in this. Cheech and Chong, what was it like working with those two?
Very nice. They were really nice. Yeah.
You want me to tell you, I get the biggest kick out of Tommy Chong in this movie. You want to talk about the king of idle threats. Anybody I catch overacting, I will personally scare to death. Whatever that means. And of course, the only one being afraid of it is Marin. I love it. He turns around, starts flopping his head against things, because he's always told to do it. And he goes, "Why are you banging your head like that?" He goes, "Was that?" And he goes, "Yes, we all saw you." Like, I got my own pirates. They had a crocodile. I got Skittles here. Skittles is my
Oh,
Skittles is my pirate pet.
oh, wow.
Yes. I know they say parrot preferred, but here
Yeah.
we go. This'll be my parrot. This is parrot Skittles.
Oh, you should have told me to bring Bobby, my cat. He's in the next room over. I could have brought
Oh
Bob.
yeah. But he's all embarrassed now. Yeah. But nonetheless, Cheech and Chong, and they also did After Hours too, so they worked even outside their movies. But But I'm glad you had a good time with them, and I love it. They when they're addressing uh Tommy Chong, who's it's this tyrant guy, and he goes, they go, "Yes, your ass holiness." Of course, he's not catching on to that. Those two are great in it, and I love the shot of where they're in the forest and Peter Cook. He's so got so much alcohol in him. He sees the sight of this naked woman coming out from behind a tree, and then next shot you see Cheech Bird coming out behind the tree, and he's like looking at the alcohol bottle, looking up like, I won't say anything about this, But Cheech and Chong, great in the movie, and uh, and of course you just mentioned Peter Cook. I think I quote the most lines from him. One of my favorite was reminds me of a mirage I once saw, if I saw it.
Yeah.
Or when the first time Graham Chapman encounters him and he says to Dan, says, "You're not pirate material. If you are, kill the stupid old fucker." He just hanging there. He has hold of him and he goes, "No, he could be useful." Goes, "Yeah, I could be useful. What could I do?" I thought Peter Cook was so funny in this movie. What brought him into the movie? Because I thought he was hilarious.
Well, Orion is a very strong company, and so they had a lot to say about the casting. And but because it was an Orion movie, we were able to have access to very good actors who were not Pythons. So
Hmm.
it wasn't me as a director because nobody ever heard of my name, but it was the fact that it was a Python movie at Orion that attracted a lot of people.
Well, Peter Cook's done some stuff with pythons before,
Yeah.
but he was so funny in this movie, like he was just out of it. I love these shots where he's you know, opens up the liquor bin there and you see Marty Feldman down there and does that thing with his eyes, and then he closes the thing, he looks out the window, and there's Graham Chapman's Yellowbeard scaling across the window, and he's like, "Does such and such, whatever the alcohol is, make you see things?" Oh,
And by the way, I allowed them, I always had to get a take based on the script, but I allowed them to make shit up and try to do some stuff. And a lot of that fun stuff that you see is things that these are talented people with
yeah.
great backgrounds in comedy. So I, again, I always had to get one good take from the script. But then I allowed them to ad lib and do lots of different stuff, and we used a lot of that stuff in the movie.
And this is why I don't understand why the Python members were difficult, because if you're allowing them that kind of freedom, like, yet, and you're using a lot of their stuff, that's a major compliment to them, you know? But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, great cast in this movie. Of course, Peter Boyle playing Mr. Moon, the villain, Um, Peter Boyle, of course, and I know him so well from Young Frankenstein, playing the
Mhm.
monster,
Yeah.
and he was great in this, playing Mr. Moon, and gee, I like it so how easy it was for him to break Gilbert, played by Marty Feldman, at a prison. Just throw a rope over, he climbs up it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and Marty Feldman, he was also in Young Frankenstein as Igor. In here is Gilbert, which, of course, my last name being Gilbert, my family did get a kick out of that. Gilbert,
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Marty Feldman was great, and I always loved his eyes. So bug eyes he had, and Mel Brooks once said, in order to hide from Marty Feldman, you have to stand directly in front of him, you know? Yeah,
That's so true. And you know how not very tall, right? He was not tall at
pretty
all.
short guy, yeah.
Uh,
Oh man, you described him yesterday when we had a short phone conversation as a sweet, sweet man. Now, what kind of stories of Marty Feldman do you have? Because I heard through past interviews that he brought a lot of his own stuff to the finished product, and talk about working with him and any memories you could share.
well, that's true. He did. He had a lot of input into his building of his character and the way he looked and all of that. And again, because it was not a Python movie, I was very open to these people who were not Python people bringing something of their own into this film. And so I was willing to try different things and see how they worked, and some of them worked really well. I mean, Cheech and Chong were used to doing their own movies, right?
Hmm.
They were very rarely in anybody else's movie. And so, James Mason, Peter Boyle, I mean, these are really wonderful actors who had great careers. And I was a young filmmaker who was very open to trying things that they suggested.
Hmm.
And so, Marty brought a lot of ideas into almost every rehearsal. Hey, what if we try this? And I would always let him try it. I tried to always do one take that was directly from the script because I didn't want Orion to be upset or the Pythons, but I also let them try different stuff and ad lib stuff. And there's a lot of that made it into the movie. That when Orion saw the movie, they said, you know what, that's pretty funny.
Yep. No. Talk about when Feldman had passed. When did you get he obviously didn't pass right on set.
No, we were in Mexico,
Yeah.
and um, I got they contacted me at night and told me Marty had died. Uh, Again, his wife was not comfortable with him going to a Mexican doctor, and she didn't realize how serious his condition was. And so when he passed away, I was the only person who was told, and I had to knock on everybody's door at night. It was about 10 o'clock at night at the hotel in Mexico, and one by one have to tell everybody that Marty had died. Can you imagine my first movie, and that's part of my responsibility?
Wow.
And and then I had to stage a new ending where his character dies with his stunt double.
So that was the only thing that wasn't shot was his death scene, which was well shot because you get a good double for him because I couldn't tell.
No, and also the kind of uniform he wore and everything, and it was possible to double him,
Yeah.
which would have been normal with a scene like you and I talking like this. So, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, well, let's look at it this way. It sounds like he had a great time on set. So, you know, I wish his wife had have been with him when he passed, but,
yeah,
uh, but Mel Brooks had said in a commentary track for Young Frankenstein, he had mentioned that Marty passed away in Mexico City. He said that he talked about his diet and whatnot, and he said that he couldn't help himself, and the way he ate and I guess smoking or whatever it was he was doing, but uh,
yeah,
I didn't hear of anything of him being on drugs. It just I heard just the lifestyle like smoking a lot, and I know Mel Brooks. I mentioned he ate a lot of eggs. I heard so. I don't know. I'm not big on how diet works, but nonetheless, Sounds like he had a good time on that last shoot. Did you meet his wife?
Oh yeah, she was around. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
was
we
she
didn't have,
with him on set?
well, she wasn't on set, but she was, yeah, she was around all the time. And then we were all staying in the same hotel. So
Oh, I'm glad she was with him, though. I'm glad
yeah.
she
Oh
was
yeah.
with
No,
him.
she was with him. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she wasn't always there because she lived in Beverly Hills, but she was there a lot of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's sad he's gone, but like I'm glad that he was able. I heard the same thing about John Candy when he passed away on the shoot of Wagons East. They had most of his stuff shot, and they had a double fill in for just a few minor scenes that he had still left to do. And I think Gaylord Sardine, I heard, whether it's true, it doubled for him, but because they were similar build, but nonetheless. Um, but working with Peter Boyle was positive.
Very positive, really good guy.
Love
Yeah.
Peter Boyle.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, except for the pythons, everybody was really nice and appreciative to me. And, and again, this is my first feature film, but still, they were respectful to me and it went really well.
Now, James Mason, like he's like Hollywood royalty when you get him on set, and
That's
like he's
right.
in so many, like he was in North by Northwest, Alfred Hitchcock. I love the first scene he's in, he's checking everybody coming in there. Guy goes, "Thank you, sir." Kisses him on each side of the face. He goes, "Don't do that. Don't ever do that again."
And by the way, he was so respectful to me. It was amazing. Look at this guy, look at his background and
Hmm.
right. And his credits and look at mine, which were zero. And he was just really nice and respectful to me. It was wonderful.
Oh yeah. I love it when they're trying to sneak Marty Feldman and crew trying to sneak what looks like a crocodile on set. And he goes, "Open it up." There's what? There's buckles on the side. Open, they're trying to sneak a hooker on board. And of course,
Yeah.
ultimately, Greta Blackburn gets brought on as Mr. Prostitute. And like I said, I'm in touch to get her on. I've been talking to her, and she, of course, plays Officer of Discipline, Mr. Prostitute. And I like the fact that she just got this mustache on. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to having her on and talk about that part, but beautiful woman.
Yeah. And a nice woman. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, one of his other officers, I mean, you had dual roles with Kenneth Mars. And I think Kenneth Mars is so funny. What's Up, Doc? Young Frankenstein, the
Right.
producers. Kenneth Mars is so great. Of course, he plays the guy creating all the torture weapons for Cheech and Chong. And of course, he's playing Officer of Discipline, Mr. Crisp, and of course, they have to get through him before they can betray James Mason's character, and Kenneth Mars, very funny guy. Any memories of him?
To be honest, not much. I had very little connection with him, uh, whereas with the others, it was a lot more. I think part
Mhm.
of the reason is he was just very professional, you know,
How
and
did he
but there
get
was,
in two roles?
how did he end up with two roles?
Yeah.
I don't remember. This is a long time ago. I think we had trouble finding the second one and I said, I think he can do both.
You know what? Great decision. He's
Yeah,
brilliant both ways.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a tricky thing because we needed someone else. And I said, let him play both parts.
Well, I
Yeah.
remember, Yellowbeard had dealt with him, and then when they took over the ship, and they strung up James Mason. I never caught this before, but I noticed that they restrained Greta Blackburn and the other officer who didn't have a whole lot of scenes, but they restrained them as well, as because there was a quick shot of them being grabbed, and I was like, I never noticed that before, so. And I said, okay, that's why whenever James Mason is sent away, the other two were sent away with him. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Of course, they were trying to vote for Mr. Prostitute to stay as a captain.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we got to talk about Madeline Kahn. Oh my goodness, one of the funniest women ever, And there's a line in the movie um, that she says that was very similar to a line that Terry Jones used in Life of Brian, because of course Terry Jones played the mother of Brian, and Graham Chapman goes, oh no, she goes to Graham Chapman, goes, I might have not have been totally honest. Your father was a Roman. He goes, you were raped by a Roman. He goes, well, it started out that way, yes. And of course, Madeline Kahn had a similar line whenever Yellowbeard breaks out of prison and immediately, barges into the Madeline Kahn's place there and sort of chipping into the wall to find the map, and she just goes over, like, oh, okay. It lays on the table, and she's like, he looks at her and goes, I don't have time for that. And she tries to tell him that, of course, she had mentioned when they were in prison, he was in prison, they had a son. And anyway, he goes, remember when we were having a cuddle? And he goes, I was raping you, if that's what you were talking about. She goes, half rape, half cuddle. I'm like, what does that even look like?
I don't think you could do scenes like that today, by the way, you know, politically incorrect scenes like that. But in those days, you could do pretty much anything, especially with that kind of cast. But make
Oh, comedy today is suffering.
yes, exactly. Yeah. In those days, they could just say whatever the heck they wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. But Madeline Kahn, one of the funniest women, and I kept forgetting about this until I watched it the other day. David Bowie playing the guy at the shark fin whenever they're trying to get information out of Madeline Kahn. That
Yeah.
must have, I mean, talk about an added addition. That must have really put you on um, an impressive list.
Well, David showed up with his kids
Hmm.
and his caretaker of his kids, who I think was his companion.
Hmm.
He was recently divorced, and he was very close with the Pythons, and he rented a small bus and he took them on some kind of little trip and had a car accident.
Oh.
And we were shut down for 2 weeks in Mexico. And we were at the pool every day at the hotel. And he was with the kids and the caretaker. He would never look me in the eye because he felt so terrible that he caused us to have the shutdown. So it was really, I mean, can you imagine all the challenges I had in this movie and, being my first movie and then having to deal with this? 2 weeks in Mexico at the hotel every day, waiting until they healed, till that we could start shooting again. And then Marty dies.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very challenging experience for me.
And of course, this was the last movie for Peter Bull, who was a Doctor Strangelove. Peter Bull in drag playing the Queen. Shrons, are you the beekeeper?
Yeah,
Oh, just the one scene, but he was great.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And other lines, stop that man pissing on the hedge. Keep all the way in from Cleveland. Oh, some funny stuff, and Graham Chapman had a real as Yellowbeard, of course, having this real issue with the ladies. I like that when he comes out of the room and he sees his companions being abducted, and he has this woman at the top of the stairwell, outside stairwell. He just drops her into the straw. That must have been a thing for the stunt woman. But and speaking of newbies, Martin Hewitt and he must have been the most inexperienced actor in the on the shoot
yes, yeah,
because he said originally they were looking for either Adam Ant or Sting to play his part. And talk about being humble. He had stated in interviews that he would have went with either one of them over him. And he wasn't saying that as a shot against the film. I think it
yeah,
was the fact that, you can't believe that you guys went with him.
yeah. He was very nice to work with, though, I'll tell you that. And of course, he was very appreciative of being there. So,
Yeah.
but good. Yeah,
Yeah, I always found him having again, maybe this might be part of it because you look what you're surrounded with. I always found that he had a hard time keeping up with those that were around him. And really I can understand that given the talent around you.
yeah,
So but nonetheless, there's a lot of great scenes in this movie. To me, one of the funniest jokes to this day I still laugh at is where Peter Cook and trying to think of the actor that played the doctor. I'll figure it out. I'll bring it up here because that was a very funny scene. Uh, I'll bring it up
see.
here. Yeah, played the doctor. Was one of their
Michael
Michael
Holden.
Hordem.
Yeah,
Yeah, Michael Hordem. Okay, they come out of the this place there and he's fiddling with his gun and it goes off and there's like four of the guards that just fall off because they're trying to fake an ambush. Cheech and Chong are four of the
yeah.
rope guards fall off this thing and Peter Cook's like, nice shot. I love that and that was perfectly staged, that shot. The way you staged that, you knew exactly how to make that joke work. I have a question. There's a moment where there's you got this barrel and you get the dynamite that and they're go blow the door up. And there's like this homeless guy, starting to feel it up, and Yellowbeard goes and grabs him and haul him away. Was that Graham Chapman that hauled that guy? Did he really pick him up? Because that's I was wondering
I
if he
think,
was that strong.
no, I think that was a double. Yeah,
Oh, was it a double? I was gonna say Jeepers, but Graham Chapman that strong, you
yeah,
know? Okay, okay. Um, and I wanted to mention as well, you got so many great cast members in this movie. It was the last role, I think, for Spike Mulligan, or Milligan, excuse me, sorry. Um, Susanna York being in this, of course, is Lady Churchill. And we got to mention Stacey Nelkin, a year after she did um, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. A lot of people know her from Halloween 3, but to me, she's always Lady Triola. I think I love you. Yes, you do.
yeah. Again, can you imagine how it was for me as a young director getting to work with all these incredible people? I mean, it
Mm.
was, obviously it was stressful, but also I was so grateful for this opportunity. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry the pythons weren't more agreeable, you know. Yeah, I think that's unfortunate, because I know they had there's a lot of Monty Python in this, Graham Chapman being the helm behind it,
Yeah.
but I think personally, I know the movie got a lot of bad reviews, but I think the movie is a lot better than people give it credit for, And any of my friends that I know that's seen it love the movie. I have two brothers. They both love the movie, We quote it a lot. Obviously, you've heard me do it. Um, so I still think the movie works as a satire. And I'm glad that it's finding an audience today, you know. And I'm glad that you had
By the
members
way,
of,
now it has very high ratings now,
yep,
over time. So that's really good. The reason it didn't originally is because it wasn't a Monty Python movie. And so the Python fanatics were like not happy with the fact that it wasn't a Python movie.
there you go. Well, I really enjoyed the movie and I appreciate you making it, I had a great time with it, But let's talk about mischief or getting into mischief, you know.
Okay, let's get into Mischief.
Yeah. Oh, I've had Catherine Mary Stewart on here a couple times. Oh my goodness, she still looks breathtaking, and
That's
I
good
think
to
she's
hear.
beautiful and but boy is she a hoot to talk to, I've had her on here. I remember I used to do these on phone when I was doing them at the radio station, but when the pandemic happened, I got introduced to Zoom, and this is so much more convenient for me. I can do these just at my apartment whenever I can book them. And second time, I had the pleasure of seeing her beautiful face on a Zoom call, which was nice. And she still looks radiant today. And of course, she was in Mischief. I'm going to
Mhm.
assume she was a delight to work with as I found her to interview.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston, of course. Okay, I got to mention this. Um, Tommy Kovac, the Splat from the past. By the way, he says hello because he said he had interviewed you in 2020. And anyway, he said that Kelly Preston was the first time he'd seen a naked woman was in
In a
that
movie.
movie. Yep.
Well, here's the thing. She insisted on a meeting because she had a nude scene, and she said to me, Mel, I don't want anybody on set for the scene. So we'll do the rehearsal, and then everybody else has the only person who can stay on the set is the camera operator and the actors. And Kelly said, that's okay. No other people on the set. So we do the master shot, and Kelly is naked in the master, and then she doesn't leave the set. Nobody else leaves the set. The crew comes on. They're lighting the next scene. She's standing on the set, icing her nipples, getting ready for the next take, and had no problem with everybody walking around while she's naked, icing her nipples. So as much as she was nervous about it going into it, once we did the master scene, she was totally comfortable being naked in front of everybody, and it was just
Wow.
very, very interesting. Yeah,
I would have been nervous just watching watching her ice her nipples.
yeah. And I think that Doug was a virgin in real life. He was so young, so he lost his virginity in a movie.
Who?
Doug McKeon, the lead
Oh,
guy,
that's right. That's right.
he
Yes.
was very young, and I think he was actually a virgin. You can ask him.
Oh, well, if he lost his virginity to her, then what a way to lose it.
On film, on camera, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How difficult is it for the actors to shoot scenes like that? Not just talking nude scenes, but sex scenes.
Well, again, it's, they're stressful in terms of preparation but that's a perfect example of once they did the master shot, they were totally fine. They didn't mind all the people being around and seeing them and this and that. So, you know, I I don't think it was stressful at all.
I don't know. I would imagine if somebody told me that I was acting in a scene having sex with a naked Kelly Preston,
You
I
wouldn't be
could think
happy
of
with you wouldn't be happy to have that opportunity? Come
I'd
on.
be like I could think of worse ways of spending my day. Oh my goodness, you know? Wow,
And
wow.
Kelly married John Travolta.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've always loved John Travolta, you know.
yeah.
But this movie, of course, was set, if I remember correctly, in the 1950s. How did you go about making it resemble the 1950s? Because I mean, it was set. Of course, the movie was made in the mid 80s, so.
80s, yeah. Well, you just, have to, we do that all the time in movies. And so going from the 80s to 50s was not nearly as difficult as having to go back to the 40s and the 20s and things like that, which I had to do in other movies. So you just had to make sure all the vehicles are from that period and the wardrobe is from that period and things like that.
Well, going back to Monty Python, Terry Jones did, or not Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam did it very well in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, making that look like the 70s. And it really takes a lot of skill to pull that off and make it convince people that this is when it is. This is uh, when this was all set. It takes a lot of skill to do that.
Yeah. But
Of
remember,
course,
you have
yeah.
a long preparation time on every movie. You do a
Mhm.
lot of preparation. So that but when you start shooting day one, you have to have prepared the whole movie because you're going to be working 12, 13, 14-hour days now every day. So you have a long time of prep on a movie and you have to make sure you have things ready to go.
And other cast members you had in this too. You had Chris Nash, D.W. Brown, and D.W. Brown. I have not had on the show here. I've been in talks with him because he was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but I have had his wife, uh, Miss Barron, on the show here, and of course Gertz also in this as well. Like you had a good cast on this.
Wonderful cast, and it was a really wonderful experience for me. We shot in Nelsonville, Ohio, in a beautiful little town, and it was just really one of my most fun movie experiences.
So that one went a lot smoother than Yellowbeard. I don't know how this film opened. Did it have a better opening and give you less headaches in terms of its release?
It didn't have a great opening, but it was not stressful. The Yellowbeard had a terrible opening because it wasn't a Python movie, and I was in New York, and I went to the theater, and there was nobody there, and it was just heartbreaking for me. But Mischief. uh, Remember, Doug McKean is not a well-known actor. He wasn't a famous person or anything like that, so it didn't have that kind of fame going into it. But over time, it has gotten a really nice following.
Yeah. Catherine Mary Stewart had some stuff before that though, like
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
yeah, The Apple and uh The Last Starfighter and Night of the Comet she had done the year before, so
Yeah.
you know. Now, when I do that convention at the end of April, one of the guests that's going to be there is Helen Slater, and of course, you worked with her and Happy Together.
Yes.
I gotta be honest, I haven't seen this movie, but I want you to talk about it on here, though.
Oh God, you didn't let me know that to prepare for that. But Happy Together was really a fun movie.
Yeah.
We shot in Georgia. But it's been a long time for me, and I've directed so many movies that I have to watch it again before I could really talk about it. But it was a very good experience.
Yeah, I actually have not seen that one, but it caught my attention because Helen Slater, of course, Supergirl, is going to be at that event too, and so I may see her. You've directed a lot of television now. Um, some of this like MASH I grew up with, and a lot of the stuff now, because where I got my television just set up to watch Blu-rays. I don't even know, like I've never seen an episode of Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones or any of that. I know what it is, but I've never seen it because
Yeah.
I've just set up to watch my Blu-rays. But talk about some of your greatest experiences in television, directing television. I know Psych was something that was very
Yes.
huge for you.
Hold on one second. My wife's asking me a question.
Okay, here's Mel.
Hello, here's Mel. This is a
It's a text. It's
721
I
5485. Okay, sorry.
so yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh,
You know what it reminds me of? I had one of the actors from the Greasy Strangler on here, and his phone would ring, and he it was somebody rang twice. Once was for somebody to tell him his prescription was in, and then once was somebody trying to sell him something. And he looks at me and he goes, "Did you want such and such or something like that?" I said no, and I kept it in, and I thought it was hilarious, and he thought it was hilarious, but it was a sense of humor. But
right.
but
Well,
nonetheless,
I directed many TV series. I was very happy to work with David E. Kelley, who's one of the best writers in television. And so I got to work on all his shows, Ally McBeal, Boston Legal. So I've just been blessed with a wonderful career. I mean, working with Shatner and was great. And again, staying, in touch with him has been wonderful.
hmm
And but the best job I ever had was Psych because I was the producer director and we shot in Vancouver, eh? And you
hmm
speak Canadian, eh? So
I speak A.
and part of my job was to make sure because that they spoke American. It was supposed to take place in Santa Barbara, California, but all the guest cast were Canadian. And I was in every casting session to make sure they spoke American and not Canadian, eh? I had to constantly correct. They couldn't say a boat. They had to say about, so it's that kind of thing. And so even when I wasn't directing, I was the producer in LA. I mean, in Vancouver, the writers were all in LA. The writers' room was Steve Franks, who's amazing, who created the show, was in LA. So I was the person in charge. So I was in every casting session, even when I wasn't directing. And it was just the best job I ever had. 8 seasons.
You know
So
what? I was looking at the cast. I haven't had this guy on the show, but I have met him, Corbin Burson. I met him at a Toronto Comic Con, and my story about him, uh, I never had a bad experience with anybody, but there's certain people at the conventions that seem to elevate beyond your expectations. One was John Rhys Davies from Raiders of the Lost Ark, who was just a pleasure to me. The other was Corbin Burson because his handler had taught him how to do selfies. And boy, was he having a knockout time doing selfies, you know?
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think he was testing a lot on his handler. Like this is cool. Yeah, I've never done this before. Let's do another one. Just had a great time with him. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a long time to do a show. And
8 seasons. And I still live right across the border from Vancouver because I never loved LA. And so I just stayed up here after Psych ended. Then I did all those Hallmark movies and a bunch of other TV movies also in Vancouver. Vancouver is second to Hollywood in the amount of production, even more than New York, I think, or Toronto. There's so much production in Vancouver. So it was a really wonderful experience. And I'm living right here on the edge of the continent, right just south of Vancouver in Bellingham, Washington.
mhm. But if somebody gets into office again, you're going to jump ship. And
You're right. I'll be Canadian, eh? I don't think I'll be in Ontario, but I'll come visit you.
well,
I think
I'm actually in New Brunswick, but I prefer to be
that's
in
right.
Ontario.
So I'll probably be in Vancouver. Actually, I'm not quite sure. It might be a little south of Vancouver, so I'm closer to the US border.
Hmm.
But I go up there all the time. But my friends came down last night and it took 2.5 hours at the border waiting to cross. It's crazy. So many Canadians come down here to shop, especially at Trader Joe's.
Yeah,
And so it's the lineup, as you say in Canada, you say lineup in the at the border is really bad.
I can
So
imagine.
yeah,
Yeah, I hope I don't ha get held up too much. I've never had an issue flying, when I flew to Toronto. Going to the States, I've never done that, so I hope it's not a hassle to do it,
it
so
isn't. I'm going to my high school reunion in June, and I'm flying from Vancouver to New York. It's the best way to, even from where I live, it's the best way to get to New York from here is through Vancouver. Isn't that
okay.
crazy? So I go
Wow.
Vancouver, Toronto, New York, and it's was much better than any other connection from Bellingham, Washington.
Well, I'll be going from here to Toronto to the New Jersey area, Newark Airport. So and I got my flights all paid for, and it turned out cheaper than when I priced them before. So okay. So I'm looking forward to doing this. I was going to ask, what's the most unique thing you've ever been asked to sign? Or is there anything that stands out?
What do you mean sign?
Like autograph?
You know, I'm not a known person. I'm not famous. I
You
mean,
never, okay.
I've had an incredible career, and I look back, I'm the child of Holocaust survivors, and I've had the most, my uncle was a very famous newspaper editor, Harry Rosenfeld, and I've had this charmed life, and I feel so grateful for the life I've had. But I don't take it for granted at all. Every time I get in the hot tub every day, I say, thank you, God, for the incredible life I've had. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Oh, I thank God for all the blessings I've had too, including being able to talk to folks like yourself. I consider it an honor to have you on here. Like I said, this movie just takes me way back. And I love Yellowbeard and Mischief and if I was directing a movie and I was around women as beautiful as Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Preston, I'd probably be sweating bullets.
Uh,
But
yeah.
do you have anything coming up that you want to promote on here?
I'm not directing movies anymore. I'm back
Okay.
to being a reporter. I started my career as a reporter in Long Island at Newsday, and I write for a local newspaper here called the Lacana Weekly News. I write a monthly column, which has won best column in the state several times, called "If I Ran the Zoo." Uh, I don't miss the alarm going off at 5:30 in the morning on Mondays to direct a movie and working 13, hour days, but still. I would love to produce a movie with a first time director. I would be the perfect person to do that, to have a safety valve there.
Hmm.
They don't want to hire old white guys. I I've had so many agents pursue me my whole career because I've done 40 movies and hundreds of hours of television. I can't even get an agent now. They say, Mel, they ain't hiring old white guys now.
And they
So
want to talk about racism. So it's okay to be racist towards white guys now. Like, how
exactly.
pathetic is that?
No, and I mean these are my agents are telling me this. The agents telling me they ain't hiring old white guys. These are agents who pursued me my whole life because look how many things I've directed, hundreds of things. And so if I was black or transgender or something like that, I could probably be working all the time. But I just that's the world I'm in. So I'm happy being a journalist, but I would also be the perfect person to be a safety valve if they're hiring a new director who doesn't have experience. And that is
Yeah.
something I would be willing to do.
So
So
what would happen if you did own a zoo?
it would be a very different world. Donald Trump would not be, maybe the next president if I ran the zoo. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
said,
it's hard here in Canada
if,
too.
oh, sorry, if he's reelected, I'll be Canadian again. Eh?
Yeah. You know, it's funny when Trump was in, people didn't like it, and now Biden's in. I hear a lot of complaints about Biden. I don't follow it because we got our own problems here with the current Trudeau government, which is not very popular here right now. But I did attend a Pierre Poilievre rally the other week. I've never done that before,
Wow.
but yeah, but I'm not a political person by nature, but I do believe that politicians are supposed to work for the people, not vice versa.
You
And
know,
our, with our current situation, I'm like, somebody is trying to drive the middle class into the lower class. And there's a change is going to be done, and
well, one of the biggest problems with the United States is the gap in wealth is so enormous. Not so much in Canada. Canada is a more socialist country than the United States. Because the United States is such a capitalist country, you have such extreme wealthy people in the United States and so many poor people in the United States. It's heartbreaking to realize how many poor people there are. And if I wish Biden wasn't running again. He's already in his 80s, and there's no way he would be able to do 4 years. He'll probably step down and want his vice president, want her to become president. But I wish he wasn't running. Uh, I wish someone like Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan or someone like that was running. I'd like to have a woman president, but I just look at the choice we have. It's terrible. It's really upsetting. You
yeah,
think, we put a man on the moon in 1969, and we thought, how advanced are we as a culture? Now look around the world and see how much violence there is around the world, how much starvation there is around the world. It's unbelievable. How many, we have not evolved in the way I thought we would.
yep. Nope, I agree. I agree. Well, Mel, it was wonderful having you come on here today and bring up all these memories. I truly appreciate it, and um, I'll bring you up whenever I have Greta Blackburn on here.
Well,
Looking
thank you.
forward.
Yeah, you did a
Yep.
good job.
Oh,
I,
I appreciated it. It was fantastic, and it was a true honor. And if Trump becomes president, you look, come to Canada and enjoy your Tim Hortons.
exactly.
Enjoy your Tim
Yeah.
Hortons. Do they have Tim Hortons in the States, or because I'm a
I
little,
don't know. I think they did at one point, but I haven't seen it anywhere. Yeah.
yeah, we like our Timmys here, so of course I'm more a tea drinker than a coffee drinker, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
either way, it's fine. But But anyway, no, it was wonderful having you come on here today, and I wish you luck in what you're doing, and I imagine that 8 seasons of Psych, what a massive imprint to make, you know. Like you talk about the films you made. Well, doing 8 seasons of anything, that's a long time. So
Yes, that's true. In my industry, that's very rare to have
yeah.
that kind of repetition. So, yeah.
And if you're talking to William Shatner, I know it's a long shot, but you know, if he wants to come on a show that will treat him well,
All
I
right,
might
I'm
get
gonna.
him to yell con once or twice, you know, but other than that, I won't bend his arm too much. I'll treat him well.
So you want me to ask him if he's willing to do an interview? Is that what you're?
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to have him on,
Okay, I'll ask him.
you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a long shot, you know, but
As an
I mean,
assistant in the house,
huh?
and I can always call her and I can give her the message and she'll give it to Bill.
Well, I'm going to tell you, before she passed away, I was in talks of having Olivia Newton-John on here. I was talking to her manager, and she was falling ill at the time, but it was promising that I would have had her on. And I kept in touch for about a year. And we were in the stages of where he was going to get back to me on it, and then she would had to cancel a tour. And next thing I know, I'm hearing about her passing, and I'm like, I always felt terrible about that because I love Olivia Newton-John, but you know, it can't be helped, you know, her health deteriorated, and but I was in the talks of having her come on here, and it would have been great, you know, but I've heard so
How
many.
old was she when she passed? How old was she? You know?
I don't remember. I could certainly find out on here, but she was okay, I'll bring her up here. 73.
Oh my God. That's so sad.
Yeah, I remember when she passed, and um that's that when people ask me one of my biggest regrets when doing this show, I say I regret not being able to interview her, but I mean it couldn't be helped. It's not like I got turned down or something, but
Hmm.
I
Hey,
would
can I
have.
tell you something really fun? Can I
What's
tell you
that?
something really, can I share
Sure.
something with you really fun? My youngest son is 32 years old
Hmm.
and he plays with Lana Del Rey and he's traveling all over the world. He plays keyboards and bass and he gets to see the whole world as a 32-year-old. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I'm very proud of him. Just looking at his picture now. For sure. I mean, he's just played all these amazing places. Just incredible. So,
Send him my way. I'll have him come on here.
my son,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I work 2 cleaning jobs. I have one of my supervisors come on here just because she asked. And she's not a famous person at all, you know? It's just yeah, I don't use my show to tell people they're not worthy to come on, you know? If he's
Oh,
been all over the world, he'll have some stories.
there's my son. Hold on.
There you go. I see that. Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Well, you got to pull it back a little bit. Yeah, but I see him.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
There you go. I can see him there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have him on. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're
give
about to
him.
play Coachella. He said, Dad, don't come to Coachella. It's a nightmare. So I'm not going to go down there, but hopefully I'll see him somewhere else soon.
Sure. Yeah, send him my way. I'll have him on here. Sure. He'll have some
Really?
stories.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, if William Shatner's willing to come on here, I'm open to that. If he's not, you know, that's his prerogative, but I'll have your son on, absolutely.
Can you send me something, about yourself that I can share with them. So I let them know who it is, who's just a capsule about yourself.
I could do that. Yeah.
Send it to me, and that will help me convince them.
Okay. Okay, I could
Yes?
do that.
Yeah,
Okay. Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
I would not mind.
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
My name is Mel Damski, and I don't even have to look at a name tag yet. I know my name. It's Mel Damski. And I am talking to Greg Gilbert. Did I get that right?
Yep.
At Python's Paradise. So this has been a wonderful experience for me, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really appreciate it. And unlike what Peter Cook said, this was not a mirage. We are actually here
Right. Yeah. In real time. This is
in
real
real
time.
time. In
Yeah.
real time.
Yeah. So
Thank you so much for the honor. I so appreciate it.
my pleasure.
Yep, and I'll be in touch. We'll keep in touch and send your son my way. And if
I
William
will.
Shatner wants to come my way, that's welcome too.
That's going to be probably a little trickier, but who knows? You never know.
Well, you know
If you,
what? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I'll have your son on. No problem.
yeah. And
Yep.
if Shatner has something coming up that he wants to promote, then he might want to do it for that. So let me find out what he's up to. I'll call his assistant right now and see what's going on with him.
Okay. Well, I'll be at the um, Chiller Theater when he's there. Um, I don't know whether I'll get a way to see him or not. Saturdays
I
is
could
usually a busy day, so
try to.
I'll yeah, I'll be at Lisa's table, so it depends. I've never done that convention. I heard it is pretty busy, but I'll see. I'll see. I'm definitely going to
Where's
make it a
that? Where is that? Again, where is it?
New Jersey.
New Jersey, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll be there for that. Yep.
All right.
All right. Well, you have yourself a wonderful day and
Thank you.
enjoy the U.S. weather, and maybe you get to enjoy the Canadian weather, depending on how the political pendulum
Exactly right.
swings.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And luckily I speak Canadian, eh? So I'll be fine when I cross the border. So,
There you
okay.
go. God
Be
bless.
well. God
Bye-bye.
bless.